Hello, and welcome to Faith in Film. This is the podcast where we look at your favorite movies through the lens of the Christian faith.
This podcast will be exploring films old and new, exploring all genres and ratings. We'll be sharing our thoughts and giving our own perspectives on the quality of the film as well as the content.
We'll ask questions like, does the main character know Jesus? How does this movie align with biblical values?
At the end of each episode, we'll give you our PureFlix or Netflix rating, a simple way to decide if this movie is better suited for a faith-based audience or if it falls into a more worldly catalog.
So let's get to it. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
And you?
Pretty okay. Guess we might as well dive right into it.
Whose pick was this?
This was Happy Birthday, Bart. We're discussing your movie on your birthday. This probably won't be published for like another, year or something. I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Maybe we'll do it on his birthday next year.
Yeah. But yeah, so Hatari was Bart's pick.
Okay.
He's the man at our church. Like, you do a lot for us, dude. I appreciate it. I know. Yeah. You know who Bart is, right? Information booth guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he said that, everybody's like, oh yeah, he does like everything, doesn't he? Yeah. But yeah. So
okay.
Bart's favorite movie, when we asked him like a year ago, because we're slow here, was Hatari, which I thought, honestly, that he said Atari the first time, and I was like, video game movie, okay.
You were like, oh,
interesting.
who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Right? And then, no, he was like, no, it was a John Wayne movie from way back in the day, 1962. And it's an action comedy.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have any familiarity with like that decade of movies or that particular genre going in?
plenty, I'd say. I'm not much of a snob. I'm not too picky when it comes to movies. People will tell you otherwise, and this podcast might demonstrate otherwise, because I have thoughts about a lot of things, but I don't pre-discriminate, I guess, if that makes sense. So when it comes down to it, if somebody says, oh, you should watch this movie, I will watch it. Now, whether I'll watch it again remains to be seen, but, yeah. Don't ask me what I've seen that came out in the 60s. I'm really bad with eras, except for the very famous stuff like, when did Lord of the Rings come out? When did Die Hard come out?
Not the
Batman 89. I wonder what year that's from.
Right.
But yeah, so Hatari, if I hadn't watched it and researched it for the podcast, I couldn't tell you literally anything about it, when it was made, who was in it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I went in pretty fresh on this one. And yeah, as far as the 60s go, John Wayne officially looks old.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen him in a lot of movies, but this, I think, officially is part of his old era.
Yeah. It's old era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the old guy now.
And he does it well, I guess. I'm not John Wayne girly. My grandma is, so I'm familiar, but not with this genre. Again, it's my grandma's genre. I'm surprised I hadn't seen this movie yet, TBH.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is not your typical John Wayne movie.
That's probably why I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most John Wayne movies are him as a cowboy in
Yeah.
a black and white Western, I'd say mid-30s. Yeah. It's very, very tried and true
Yeah.
method for making a Western, is to just put John Wayne in it and have him say, howdy, Pilgrim. And, yeah.
And then my grandma goes crazy.
Yeah. This is not that.
No.
So, general thoughts on it. I thought that it was a surprisingly charming movie.
I actually, while watching it, I really liked the dialogue. I really liked the interactions. I chuckled a bit. I did.
Yeah. So, this movie is everything that modern Hollywood is trying to be. And that's basically what kept striking me throughout the movie was, okay, so most of these actors are actually talented. They're actually doing the things. You believe that they are who they say they are. You know, they got a French person to play a French person, Italian person to play an Italian person, American to play an American, and a bunch of actual African people to play actual Africans. Imagine that. So as far as diverse casts go, this might be the most diverse movie I've seen just by virtue of the fact that, like, the number of people and the number of countries that are represented here are, it's insane, and they all come together for a common purpose, and nobody bats an eye at it.
Yeah.
Effectively, they're like, can you do the job? No? Get out of here. Yes? Good. Okay, let's go. And that being said, I guess, yeah. Did you have any further general thoughts? Because I was about to start diving into the
No,
plot.
let's get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, movie opens with a rather big no-no in this day and age. They are hunting a rhino. On safari, they are a capture squad. So, unless it can't be helped, they try not to kill the animals. They try not to hurt them in any way. But PETA, in particular, today would have you believe that is far worse. I don't think that's the case, but that being said, I guess trigger warning for anyone who cares. Like, if you don't want to see how the sausage is made, this is not the movie for you.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, the animals are shown like, you know, happy and being cute and stuff. Other than this guy.
Like, most of the time, wild animals hate domestication as a process, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just naturally when you stick something in a cage, it's going to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
After they become domesticated, their newfound lives and freedom, again, typically, from what I've seen, are livable, fine, effectively, right? Like, nobody likes to be put in a box, but as soon as you're no longer trying to kill all the zebras and they let the lion out of the cage and he's able to just walk around and be all like, oh, I get to just lay here and people give me food?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, okay, I can get used to this. So, again, that being said, I think it's a discussion worth having as far as modern sensibilities go. Is this appropriate? Is it inappropriate? Is this something that we should just hate and never do ever? Because biblically speaking, right, man was given dominion over animals to hunt and train them as he wills.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that there's anything that goes against any of that, right?
Yeah.
Because, again, biblically speaking, you know, you're supposed to treat your slaves well. You're supposed to treat your workhorses well. You're anything well. You're supposed to be a good master to everything that is under your care.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, they don't display anything different than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we get far less mileage out of that than I thought because
Well, the only thing that
we just agree.
Yeah, well, the only thing that watching it, because knowing it's so old, I'm like thinking about how are the animals treated like off camera, because during that time and even later, like movies with animals and when they use real animals, there's like bad things happen. Like Milo and Otis, like it was something crazy. Like 70 cats were killed during the filming of Milo and Otis.
Really?
Yeah, it's like why?
Okay.
Why did that happen? So like that, I didn't look it up because I was like, I kind of don't really want to know. But it's like, I don't
Yeah.
really think, other than the rhino, I don't think there were any like reasons why anything crazy would happen. But you never know. So I was like, I was wondering about that. Like, okay.
So yeah, most of the animals in this movie, I don't think there would have been much, if any, of an opportunity for
Yeah.
them to be mistreated because from what I researched, all of the animal captures and whatnot were done and filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like there were actual safari runs that they did and they filmed, and the crew, they trained, you know, the 4 actors that actually do stuff, and they operate as part of the crew. So that being said, those animals were free until they weren't, right? And all of the ones that do trained, stunt animal things, if you will, generally speaking, it's the effect of like what happens if you have a Bernese Mountain Dog, and that's the first mutt that somebody sees, right? Where it's like, oh, our house cat just happens to be a cheetah, right? And that's actually a thing that happens in the movie
Yeah.
where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, and then everybody else is like, oh, Sasha, is the lady screaming at you? Like, no, get out of here, it's fine. And yeah, like literally you've got the baby elephants running around, you've got the cheetahs walking around, the ostriches running around at times, right? But other than that, there's no animal stunts happening.
Yeah.
And the stunts aren't really stunts. They're not things that put the actors in any real danger, and they're not things that you would even have to train these animals insanely well for. Like, as long as you don't kill people, you're fine, right? I don't know what would lead somebody to kill 60 cats other than being around 60 cats, but, that just strikes me as wildly
Yeah, it's just
unreasonable.
old Hollywood. They just were kind of careless about stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
so that's why I was like, those are my only like thoughts when I was like looking. I was like, oh, look at the cute elephants. I was like, oh, how were they? Are they okay? Like, were they okay? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, there wasn't a lot of situations where like it could have gone
'Cause-
like where I imagined
yeah.
something bad happening. So it wasn't too much weighing on my mind. But I was just like a couple more where I was like, especially with the
Indeed.
cheetah, I'm like, who hired the cheetah? How do they treat the cheetah? But
Yeah, I think it's fine.
yeah,
Or
I mean, and I think if something crazy did happen, it probably would have showed up in the Google search for the movie.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
honestly. I guess that's comforting, at least. That scandals are so well publicized nowadays that that'll be the first thing that pops up if it happened.
yeah.
So, yay. But, so, I guess plot-wise, Rhino Hunt is happening. They get slightly careless, and Homie gets speared through the leg.
Yeah.
Like half the cast in this is going to be Homie because some of them have offensive nicknames. This guy has one, actually, the Indian.
Yeah.
Gets speared through the leg. So he gets speared through the leg by a rhino horn, which obviously is bad. There's a femoral artery, right? Like if that gets nicked at all, you're dead. Anything happens, you just tourniquet and hope that they don't bleed out. And they make a point of saying like, oh, we'll be to the hospital in 5 hours. And I'm immediately just going, oh, that's not good.
Right.
Like you're 5 hours out from a hospital and this guy's femur got broken. Like, that's real not good. So you start off on a serious note where immediately you've got these, I feel ridiculous saying it, but trigger warnings for modern people, right? Where it's like,
Yeah,
oh
it
no, the
definitely is
Indian
like-
got speared by a rhino.
Yeah. It's definitely like right away, movie starts, boom, crazy action happens.
Crazy action.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to speak, when you think about the fact that they had to like organize that so that it actually really happened, but nobody got hurt. And it's like, yeah, that is crazy to think about. But relatively tame as far as action goes nowadays, because there's no world-ending laser beams or anything. So this is where everyone is just going like, oh, okay, so we got a tourniquet on him. We all know what to do. Let's organize. Oh, crap, Brandy is back at the thing. Her dad died when this happened to him. He got speared by a rhino. We definitely need to let her know to get her ready and then take her to the hospital so that she can, be there, be a part of the process. And we meet Brandy.
Yeah. And this little family that they have going on here.
Yes. Yeah. Which things get a little weird and a little complicated as we go, but meeting Brandy, we immediately have the I guess coming of age trope right? Where, you know, guy runs in and goes, Brandy, the Indian got speared by a rhino. And she immediately is just like, oh, come in, what's going on, blah, blah. And he's telling her all this stuff, and they're acting like family. And then as soon as she's like, oh, I can't zip my dress up, can you zip it up for me? And immediately, entire tone shift, right? And I don't know, because he acts a little awkward, and she acts like, oh, I'm asking Uncle race car driver guy to zip up my dress. This is no biggie. It's a thing that's happened a million times before.
Yeah.
Right? And he's just like, when did she grow up?
Right.
And yeah, that's
There's a lot of that.
kind of a running theme throughout the movie that I'm like, yeah, I don't like it.
No.
I'm not a huge fan. That being said,
Because it's like established right away, like, oh yeah, we were all friends with her dad.
yeah,
They all were like around her.
and they raised her when dad died.
Yeah, so.
We find out that she was 17 when dad died, and that she grew up on safari with them doing this. So
That's the dynamic that they start us off with.
yeah, so things get weird, but they're not as weird as they're gonna get. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
Yeah. So then back at the
suffice to
hospital.
say, back at the hospital, yeah, we find out a lot of really good character stuff. Actually, I was surprised at how efficiently
Yeah.
they tackled this scene, because I wasn't ready for that level of writing prowess, if we're being completely honest. Where the doctor comes out and he goes, okay, so he's going to be alive, but we need a lot of blood. He's got a rare blood type. Do any of you have that blood type? They go, no. Introduce Frenchie, who walks up, interrupts this, and says, yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about your guy, but that means you have an open job slot, right?
Yeah.
Now, everything that happens in this scene I find to be relatively reasonable, especially given the time where men were expected to be men about things, right? Where you go, oh, okay, your friend's not going to die. He's going to be fine. So now I need to go after what's best for me effectively, which is working under you because you're very well respected, good at your job, blah, blah, blah. I want to work for you. So he comes in and does that. Butts heads with Uncle Race Car Driver, who is like, our friend is in the hospital and we just found out that he might die without a bunch of blood, and I was the one driving the car that got hit by the rhino,
right,
and he got speared. So I'm feeling guilty, and all of these emotions are gonna come crashing together, and he just decks Frenchie.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I got it because I was like,
that guy actually punched that guy. Like, he didn't take a dive. You see it and you're like, oh, I almost forgot what it looks like when somebody actually gets hit. Oh my gosh. But what were you saying?
Yeah, like, you kind of see both of their points in, like, during that conflict where it's like, yeah, like, fair, but it's like, yeah, like, dude, they're all, like, really visually distressed right now, and it's like, so you kind of...
Yeah, you can relate to all parties involved, and that is the peak of the escalation, because as soon as he punches him, Frenchie stands up and just kind of like rubs his jaw, like, okay, I can see why you did that.
Yeah, like,
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna try and defend my own honor or whatever. We can settle this later. And he just leans on the table. Meanwhile, the rest of the safari crew is all like, hold up, race car driver dude, you can't just be punching people in the middle of the hospital, man.
Right.
Like, you can't do that. And then, I think it's John Wayne's character at this point goes like, okay, Doc, you were saying, right, gets everything back on track, and this is when we find out Frenchie goes, ha 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 ha. I am your savior, because I have the super rare blood type that you need.
Yeah.
And
he's so sassy about it, too. Just,
well,
yeah.
Wouldn't you be? Like, it's kind of a written kind of written, mostly unwritten rule between guys where, like, until you earn somebody's respect, you're probably just going to be treated like trash. And this is him showing them, like, I can be reasonable, but I'm not going to be your slave.
Right.
Right? So immediately we get characterization for him where he's like, so, I have the blood type, but I'd like an apology.
Right.
And John Wayne immediately goes, sorry, like, go
Yeah.
ahead, like, obviously we didn't mean it. And he goes, oh, you didn't do anything wrong, sir. And then he looks at the guy that hit him, who then goes like, okay, I'm sorry, what do you want? Like, and you get, again, just the emotions kind of exploding out of him where you're like, wow, he really is just feeling bad right now because he knows that he almost got his friend killed, blah, 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 right? Nobody's blaming him, he's blaming himself. And it's very well acted, very well done. He apologizes, and then Frenchie immediately is like, okay,
Yeah.
let me go save your friend. Which, yeah, I mean, I love it because a lesser writer would have had people stumbling over pride and tried to make some sort of a point about manliness there when in reality, typically men are just going to do what needs to be done. And in that situation, he felt like he needed to punch the guy. And then when he found out he needed the guy to save his friend's life, he was just like, my pride is nothing.
Right.
I'm sorry. And yeah. I appreciated it as a scene. I really did. And, we go over the good things too in this podcast. When and
Once
where
in a
they
while,
occur.
yeah.
So yeah, from there, things just continued developing as far as characters go. They go back home, but the Indian and the Frenchie are still at the hospital.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other guys. Let's talk about main guy. His
Main guy, I think his name is Sean
Yeah.
in the movie.
his big personality that is just
If by big personality you mean almost no personality because it's
Yeah.
John Wayne.
yeah.
Being John Wayne. Like, John Wayne is always in every movie, in every role. It's, I was very disappointed with his lack of cowboy hat and howdy pilgrim, but he's still John Wayne.
Yeah. That sums it up.
Yeah.
That's him. Mr. Cool Guy.
If you say so. I mean, he plays the part well, I guess, but I would attribute that more to the skill of the writing team, honestly, the way that they knew how to write everything around the fact that they had John Wayne at the head of this company. How everyone can just be like, okay, and, push their luck at times and pull off at times and whatnot. And, yeah, I guess as we go, there are a few scenes that I really feel like the writers managed to use John Wayne for comedic purposes by not telling him what was going to happen in the scene, or by having something ad-libbed, which I find really I loved it. And I guess we'll bring those up when we come to them plot-wise, but we also find out Pockets and why he's called Pockets, even though they don't explicitly say it. It's very subtle, right? Just imagine. So why is he called Pockets?
Honestly, I was just trying to remember what he was called. I was trying to think of all the other characters. I was like, okay, main guy, Indian guy, and then there's another young guy, and then there's that guy. And I just, as soon as you said, I was like, oh yeah.
Pockets.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, well, Pockets is the guy on their crew that wears cargo pants. And he's got big bulging pockets. Everybody goes like the doctor, when they have the doc operating on the guy in the field, is like, Pockets, tourniquet, right? Pockets reaches in, grabs the tourniquet, gives it to him. So anytime anybody needs anything in this movie, they're like, hey, Pockets, do you have blah, blah? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he pulls out, a map, a lighter, whatever people happen to need, which, again, simple but effective, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that you just believe when you see it. You're like, why do they call them pockets? And then you see them walking around with giant bulging cargo pants, and you're like, oh, because purses aren't manly. That's why. Then we get to know a little bit more about Brandy. A little
Yeah,
bit
I
of
feel like it's
backstory
like
stuff.
so like there's like it's such a big group of people, I guess, for it to be like them all to be involved, so it's kind of like they all have like a thing, and then it's kind of
Yeah.
but it's nice. It's like not corny, really. It doesn't feel corny.
Yeah, it's good enough, mostly because everyone except John Wayne is incredibly talented at acting,
Yeah.
I'd say. And we have Saudi, who is probably the unsung hero of the movie for me, honestly, because he's another actor that got trained and is just always doing something in the background that needs to be done. And I appreciate guys like that because I just, yeah, like it. John Wayne gets top billing, other people get lines of dialogue. He's in the movie for probably like a solid 30 minutes of screen time where he's featured just silently being competent. Right? And he's got like 2 lines or something. You know the guy I'm talking about, right?
The blonde one?
No.
Okay, I don't know.
Saudi is the one who I believe is Mexican, but they paint him as Arabian
Okay.
in this movie.
Okay.
He's the guy that leads all of the extras, if you will. Like, he's always standing in the back of the truck with a bunch of faceless goons, we could call them.
Yeah.
And he's the one. Yeah, we'll get to that. But so we then find out that there was a letter that came in from, I forget her character's name, but it's signed effectively like J.K. Rowling, right? And when they read it, they all assume like, oh, there's a photographer and a journalist who does this on safari, like this is their job, they work for the San Diego Zoo. Obviously, this is a guy who is seasoned and who's going to be coming and bunking with us, because why would a woman who's never done this before want to bunk with a bunch of old guys? That just seems like a bad idea.
Right.
So, they all assume that she's a man. They go out to dinner to celebrate the fact that their friend isn't going to die, I guess. They all
Yeah.
come back a little drunk.
Yeah.
And she is just sleeping in John Wayne's bed. Yeah. And this is something that I appreciate, shall we say, about the time that this is in. Because, again, modern sensibilities dictate that if a woman shows up at a place and just sleeps in a bed, that she's going to be, like, raped and murdered. Right? Like, that's what they would have you believe in the modern day.
I was a little worried. Not worried, but I was a little, because I knew it's an old movie, nothing crazy gonna happen. But like, guys come home, they're drunk, and then see a chick in their bed. Like, I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything was gonna happen. Just like, what weird little joke is gonna make me uncomfortable? But like, nothing really crazy. It was just like, oh, am I seeing things?
Yeah, it was super tame, very
funny.
Who's on Third.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Or Who's on First, rather.
Yeah, they didn't even take it there. They were just.
Yeah, I would have expected, because of some of the humor that's in the movie, honestly, I would have expected them to do a thing where he, like, gets into bed and she wakes up screaming and everybody's like, what's going on? Right, because that's still, I'd say, appropriate and humorous and everything, but instead they have, like, an Abbott and Costello type routine where she goes, hey, before you do anything, just, you're not alone in here. Like, I'm in here. And he turns the light on and goes like, who are you?
Yeah.
And she says her name, and he's like, uh-huh. And then Pockets walks in and goes, Sean, I need to talk to you. And he's looking right at her, right? And, then everybody's all like, dude, you're drunk. Like, you are so drunk right now that you're looking at a 25-year-old woman thinking that she's a 60-year-old man. Like, come on. So the humor is there, and they all deal with stuff. But then after they deal with stuff, the parting line for that conversation is something that I really again appreciated because it really dates the movie, where she's like, "Oh, thanks for letting me use your bed," and he just goes, "Well, it was never a choice," and he turns the light off and he leaves because when there's like women and children first. If there's a child that needs a bed, you give it to the child. If there's a woman that needs a bed, you give it to the woman. And obviously, he's not going to force the issue, with equal rights, equal fights, or whatever, right? And be all like, well, this is my bed. Like, if you want to sleep in here, you're welcome to, but I'm sleeping here too.
Yeah,
No.
which is like, that happens in a lot of movies. Like in the past 10 years that I've seen. I've seen like a few where like they're...
Yeah, dude,
they're
like...
just like, okay.
People don't know how to write or portray sexual tension in the least anymore, to the point where that's their idea of, how do we get these people together?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll just force them to sleep next to each other. Like, that would never happen under normal circumstances. Have you ever been camping? Obviously not, right? If you're just like, no, why would I share a sleeping bag with somebody? Well, would you rather freeze to death or platonically,
right,
like, just, admit, hey, this might not be the most comfortable thing, but I choose life. But yeah. So, amusing. I like the line right there where he's like, obviously I'm going to take the couch. Like, the bed's yours. You're already in it. Like, and that she would have that expectation of, oh, I can just use this bed and we'll sort everything out in the morning.
Yeah, she was not even really...
She can show up and she knows, like, given the era and this guy's reputation and the fact that they knew I was coming and everything, like, I'm safe here.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because that's the world that we should live in. I don't know if it is the world that we live in, but,
Yeah.
She could have been smarter, but she was safe not being smarter.
Yeah.
So, from there...
Yeah, then we get into back to business.
Back to business, indeed, which is a very amusing scene, I'd say.
What's this chick's name? I forget.
Who?
The photographer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what
All
did you
I
think
know
of
is
her?
that her offensive nickname is the nice Italian import, and I approve. But what did I think of her? I think that she is like a whole handful to deal with, and she knows it, and she kind of uses it to her advantage at times and throughout the movie. And I don't know, because aside from her, like, obviously being attractive, like, she's a good actress.
Yeah.
Okay, I can appreciate that. As far as her character is concerned, I think that she's crazy in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't stand her.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like her so bad, but I just couldn't.
For a lot of the movie, she has her moments that I enjoy, but by and large, I would tend to agree with you. That I'm like, okay, people are like this, so I know it's not necessarily a writing problem.
No, I know people like this.
Yeah. Have you ever done this before? No? What's the problem?
Oh.
You do know that we have a guy in the hospital about to die.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but yeah, so they all sit down to breakfast in the morning. She reintroduces herself, and she's, eating in her PJs and, obviously
makes
just
herself right at home.
Immediately comfortable with these guys. Like, I'm hot, I know it, and I'm going to use that to my advantage to force you to accommodate me.
Yeah.
effectively is what I got from her, and it made me laugh when they didn't.
Yeah, because
Kind
just
of.
John Wayne kind of calls them out and is like, okay,
Yeah.
But-
It's like,
don't be carrying her stuff. Don't be waiting on her, like. And then she's like, carry my stuff and wait on me.
yep. Yep. Where John Wayne immediately, like you
Yeah,
say,
he sees
right?
he
He
sees
goes,
right through.
we're
the
not
whole
going to
thing.
wait for you. Like, when you say wait on somebody, I think that's literally he means we're not going to wait for you. Things move really fast here. We can't afford to hold your hand. And we're not going to, play chaperone or carry all your stuff or, move you into and out of places, whatever, right? And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, at the table. She's literally just like, I can do the job. I'll do whatever you need me to. And,
Yeah.
she tries to play the sexism card on him. And this, again, is something that I think is worth bringing up for modern sensibilities, like gender roles and expectations, right? As a woman, you cannot show up, occupy a man's bed, expect him to give it to you, and then turn around and say, oh, you don't think I can do it because I'm a woman?
Yeah.
I was immediately like, oh, you're going to be like that.
Yeah. Picking
Okay.
and choosing. Yeah.
Then you get to sleep on the couch tonight. Because,
Right.
yeah, I was like, give her the benefit of the doubt in the moment. But as soon as she's going to try to play that card with you, it's like, okay, then you get to build your own bed like the rest of us.
Yeah. Like, are
You
you
know?
a lady or are you one of them? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And she picks
Yeah.
and chooses throughout.
Yes, she does. But she does so in a fashion that I find to be realistic,
Yeah.
because that's a card that comes up a lot when you tell somebody that they can't do something. They always assume that it's low-hanging fruit, right? When you go, yeah, dude, you can't do this. And they go, why? Because I'm short? Why? Because I'm a
Yeah,
woman?
but, like,
Why?
in
Because
her-
I'm in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Like,
I get it though in the beginning because he don't know her and like she
well, yeah.
but then she
Again-
she literally proves like
Yeah,
she
that she
can't.
doesn't belong there.
So that's embarrassing.
But gender roles and expectations. And in this case, he says, okay, so yes, because you're a woman and you came in here and you told me that you have no experience, I assume that you can't drive, you can't shoot, you can't lasso, right? I assume that you're not comfortable standing in the back of an off-roading truck, which, haha, we find out she's definitely not.
yeah.
And dealing with animals that it takes 10 grown-ass men to wrangle, right? Like, this is not something that you just throw some dainty little princess into and go, modern Hollywood would have you believe that women can just girl boss things into submission.
Yeah.
This is a situation in which she would have gotten killed if she hadn't just sat down and shut up,
Yeah.
effectively. Because, she goes, why? Because I'm a woman? And he goes, well, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like,
Which like good
can
for
you
him.
shoot? Can you do this? And she's just like, no, I can't. And then he goes, okay, do you have a death wish? And she's like, actually, kind of, yeah. Which, no, she doesn't say that. But effectively, she's like, no, but I'm a fast learner and I can do this. And
Yeah.
it's like, the first person in the door in like a SWAT takedown, right? You don't put the newbie on the door, right? Like, and this is effectively the exact same scenario where you're going, hey, if any of us are incompetent, people die,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
So, no, we're going to stick you where you won't be in the way, where you can literally just sit down, shut up, watch us work, and hopefully be scared straight. To where this is not where you belong. You should go home and, we'll forget that this ever happened because we're not doing this just to spite you, effectively. They know how dangerous it is, and yeah. So, cut forward like 5 minutes or whatever. They're all heading out, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm up in my PJs. I need to go change."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh no, I won't be very long." And then we get the speech that you were talking about where he's like, "Okay, nobody carries her stuff. All right, you give her 5 minutes like we said we would, and then you leave."
Yeah.
And, then the first truck of guys takes off, and the smaller car is sitting there waiting for her, and Pockets, who is the unsung hero. I mean, he's a gentleman to a fault, I'd say, because he spends a lot of his time trying to impress women in this film and does not get much credit for it until they decide that he does for some reason.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you guess.
I guess, yeah, I just don't see him as no hero or gentleman. He's just some goofy, dorky guy. I also did not like him. But
Okay,
yeah.
but goofy, dorky guys who read stories about heroes and whatnot are then going to end up being like this effectively, where Sean says, "Don't carry her stuff, don't wait more than 5 minutes for her, treat her like she's one of the guys if she wants to be one of the guys." And Pockets is immediately just like, yeah, no, I'm going to grab her stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going to wait as long as she needs me to wait. And throughout the movie, you do indeed get quite a bit of that, of him just kind of bending over backwards to be that guy, to be chivalrous or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's another thing where she is just playing jump rope with that, like, "I'm one of the guys. No, I'm not. I'm one of the guys. No, I'm not. I'm one of the guys. No, I'm not." And she ping-pongs right back across the line when she runs out without any pants on.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate from a functional standpoint, I guess, just by virtue of the fact that for the male equivalent of this, I've done, right? Where I've like thrown jeans on and I've run out the door with my socks and shoes and a shirt and hopped in the car and said like, "Go, go, go," while I'm finishing getting dressed.
Okay.
Okay, so I get it. This is not a wise decision on her part. And it is definitely something that I think she does intentionally, just to be all like, "Oh, look, your reward for waiting."
I think so too. She definitely she knows, and she's using it. Yeah, I definitely got those vibes.
Yeah. Which I don't know if that's a European thing or what, but that it just struck me as like, if you had done this to me, I would have immediately been all like, "Sean was right."
That's not his reaction though.
No, his reaction is used for comedic purposes,
Yeah.
which is, "I'm going to stare at your very nice legs and drive into something and
Yeah.
break it, and then immediately back up and go like, 'Oh yeah, I meant to do that,' and correct.
Yeah.
And now my eyes are on the road because you're actually dressed." And it's like,
Yeah,
bro,
that's him.
I mean, you could have just as easily left it in park, stared at her to make her uncomfortable, or get enjoyment out of it, or whatever you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna be a creep safely.
Yeah, yes. Creep safely.
Yeah, that's the takeaway here.
Only you can prevent rear-end collisions.
Yeah.
Yes, and for all the ladies out there, just get dressed before you get in the car.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for the guys too.
Yeah.
While I've done it, I don't recommend it.
Like, how late were you? I've never been that late.
Okay, so I was not ready for my ride to be there to pick me up to go to youth. Basically, I was in high school, and my mom was all like, "Nathan, Tanya and Christian are here." And, Tanya, her son Christian, was my age, and they were coming by to pick us up to drop us off for youth, and I was, sitting there, because my house is always 80 degrees, because my mom is cold, always. So I was sitting there in my PE shorts, and that was it. And, I'm just all like, oh crap. So literally, I was like, I can wear my PE shorts, it's fine. I grabbed shoes and socks and a shirt and ran out the door and got in the car. Because I was like, oh crap, yeah, like if we don't leave right now, we're going to be late. I'm not going to make these people wait for me. Yeah, it's fine, right? Except for the part where it's easily avoidable.
Yeah.
Like, just don't be a jerk. If you're expecting somebody to come and take you somewhere, just be ready.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe if you know that things happen really fast on safari, you should get dressed when you get up.
And you know what? Maybe she learns that, because I don't
She
see her in
does.
her PJs again. Until...
Yeah, that is the takeaway here, is that she learned from day one.
Yeah.
She learned.
That's good.
Which is
So there
nice.
was a little bit of growth there right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit, though.
But yeah, so
Then they're on
they
their
catch
little
up.
thing.
They're on safari.
What are they after this time?
I think this is the giraffe.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think the giraffe is the first one. But they go out, they're on safari. They have this whole list of clients that they're trying to get certain animals for. And they're just sitting there, with their binoculars, scoping everything out. And when they decide that they're going to go after their quarry, which in this movie they capture a giraffe, a rhino, a zebra, a couple of wildebeest or water buffalo. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
Or if they're even the same thing. But, yeah. So whichever hunt this one happens to be, as soon as they pick their quarry, she's like, oh, I want to stand in the back with all the important people that do the important stuff. And he's like, you sure about that?
Yeah. It's like their whole little thing.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, I'm sure I can find some place to stand. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And then he looks at Saudi and he goes, if she falls over, let her fall. And you're just like, yeah, okay. So we know that this guy is a no-nonsense kind of a guy. That works out. She is immediately on the ground.
Yeah.
As soon as they start driving. I was like, that checks out.
Yeah, real.
Yeah. Like, as somebody who has done an extensive amount of off-roading in my life, all of it has been seated. I can't imagine trying to stand up in one of those trucks, and just looking at the group of guys that they have standing in the back of the truck. I'm like, I know you're all holding on, but dude, like, that, you would have had to have practiced that
Right.
a great deal. Which I can appreciate because, yeah, she immediately just folds like a wet paper bag,
Yeah. Which I was dying, because I was like, that literally me.
Yeah. Yep. And Saudi is the guy who, she keeps trying to get up and falling over and trying to get up and falling over. And he goes, just stay down there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, I can't believe that she just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Well, because she wants to prove
to
homeboy wrong.
photograph.
She wants to
and
be like, I can
do
this.
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we ever see her pictures? I see her like developing pictures. I don't remember physically seeing.
Yeah, they don't flash any of them as frames.
Yeah.
They don't.
So we don't even know if she's good at her job.
Correct. But even if she's not good at her job, they would make it look like she is, right? Because it's, she's an actress. She's not expected to take amazing photos.
No, I know,
or
but I'm
whatever.
saying for the purpose, I wanted to be like, at least she does good for whatever. But no.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool, I think, as like
Yeah.
a rollout to the credits or something like that
Yeah.
of them just having a bunch of stills that were like, oh, so that's the picture she took. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she just kind of flops around like a wet noodle.
Yeah.
And it's very funny, and then she finally kind of like crawls out of the back and takes pictures when they catch their quarry, and then they get it into the box, as it were.
Yeah.
And yeah, that night she soaks in the bath for a hot minute and then immediately goes like, yeah, I'm sorry. I understand what you were saying now. I was wrong. I can't cut it. I'll be gone in the morning. And everyone effectively just goes like, yeah, okay, at least you understand now. We're not going to force you to leave, but you get it. And so she just kind of takes that and goes like, oh, yay, I don't have to leave. Woohoo. And then proceeds to be accommodated for the rest of the movie,
Yeah.
which she settles into it rather nicely, I'd say, when she stops trying to be one of the guys.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, I'll ride in a seat with a seatbelt. I can still take photos. I can do my job, right? I'm just not a rough rider,
Yeah.
as it
And
were.
that's okay.
Yes. Yes, because, yeah, that... Oh. I don't even want to imagine, like, what her life would have been like if she had actually gone through all of the training and the practice and everything that she would have had to be able to go out with them and just do that every day and, you know, stand
Well-
in the back of the truck and whatnot.
She wouldn't be her cute little self anymore. She'd be all,
Calloused and muscled
Yeah,
and, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, effectively.
Yeah.
Methinks that she landed in a pretty good place.
Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, so it's like the whole time watching, I was just like, yeah, okay, capture animal, and then like they flirt, and then they capture an animal, and then they flirt. That was a plot to me.
Capture animals and flirting.
Yeah.
That is most of the plot. So we can skip over a lot of that and just kind of point out some of the more important moments. I'd say Pockets being Pockets, where they have a scene that is obviously for the sex appeal, right? Where she's bathing and then the cheetah, their pet cheetah that they just have because they're on safari,
Yeah.
walks in and is just doing house cat things, right? Which anyone who's owned a cat knows, like, oh, if I'm in the shower and the door is not actually shut, then yeah, the cat will nose its way in, start sniffing around, hop up on the counter,
Yeah,
whatever.
just,
Now
"What's
just
going on
imagine that is a cheetah,
Yeah.
right? Where it's not menacing her at all. It's just kind of walking around going like, oh, hey lady, you
Yeah.
smell funny.
New person. Yeah.
Look at that. You have weird smelling soap over here too. And she's just like, ah, help, ah, I'm gonna die, oh no, ah. So of course Pockets, being Pockets, runs in, sees her wrapped up in a towel, and is immediately just like,
Yeah.
I need to play the part of the knight in shining armor here. Like, I need to score as many brownie points as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. So he's like, okay, just stay right there. Grabs a chair, runs over between her and the cheetah and goes like, just stay behind me. Don't worry, I'll protect
Yeah.
you. And he's like poking at her, going all like, come on, you know, just play along. Just leave, please. Act like I'm chasing you off. And
Yeah.
the cat is just being a cat, effectively, right? Which is like, you can poke your cat as
Yeah.
much as you want, and they'll just look at you like,
What? Yeah.
what? I'm going to keep sniffing this. Like,
Yeah. Like,
offer me food or pets,
yeah,
human.
mind your business, lady. Like, yeah, that's pretty much my cats tell me.
Yeah. So that's basically what happens. Then the trickle of guys, because obviously they're not all in the same place, comes in, and first one to come in is Uncle Race Car Driver, and he's just like, what? What's going on? What? Oh, Sasha, is the mean man and the mean lady yelling at you? Are they screaming and poking you with a stick? Oh no. And he just like pats her on the side and goes like, get out of here, get out. And then he looks up and he's like, Pockets, it's just Sasha, you know Sasha, Sasha's fine. And Pockets is like, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't realize. And he's trying to play it off, but
Yeah.
immediately she realizes what's going on here, and she's like, okay, everybody out, show's over,
Right.
you know. And then John Wayne runs in and goes like, why is everybody screaming in here? And she's like, get out and shut the door. And he just goes, yes, ma'am. Pulls the door shut.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an amusing scene.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary. Could have been done in any number of scenarios, but obviously, right, like, hey, we have an attractive actress. Obviously, you know, we have to have our shower scene or her changing scene or both in this case.
Yeah.
So, you know, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood, I suppose, even in 1962.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, moving on from there.
Oh, we get some couple scenes of Brandy flirting with the two younger guys. See,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so
they're kind of fighting over her.
younger in quotation marks, because
Yeah.
if I had to guess, I'd say that Frenchie is just south of 30,
Yeah.
right? And then Uncle Race Car Driver is like 40,
Yeah.
40-ish. So
guess, yeah.
younger in the group,
Yeah.
but
Not close to
not,
her age.
yeah, it was
no.
like not close enough, in my opinion, especially since, you know, he knows what he is to her, where he's like, yeah, I'm like an uncle to her.
Yeah.
And yet he's competing with this guy that is pretty obviously his junior, I'd say, by around 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't know. I guess we can dive into the crux of the issues that I have with this here, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that's like when it comes up in the plot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as well talk about it now.
So, relationships can evolve and they can change, and the whole like friends to lovers thing is something that women in particular like, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know, marrying your best friend is so romantic. Okay, nobody ever says
Marrying your
marrying
uncle
your uncle is so romantic.
No, except for
Yeah.
BC Andrews.
Okay. But yeah, so that being said, I did find it wildly inappropriate that she is going after the attention, and the guy that she ends up with, it eventually is Pockets,
Yeah.
who is considerably older than both of the guys that are competing for her,
Yeah.
and was a really good friend of her father's. So he's actually Uncle Pockets.
Literally.
He's not like, oh, you know, especially in Southern California, right? Everyone is Tientio. They're like, oh, yeah, so this is auntie this is uncle this is auntie this. And, you know, it's not that. Uncle Race Car Driver could be construed as that. Pockets, no,
Yeah.
not at all.
And like it's kind of weird because like going through the whole movie, I didn't get any like vibes from her that it was anything other than that until it's shown.
Until they decided.
Yeah. So it's like, because she's not paying attention to him really. She's literally like paying attention to these two other guys. And so, but like not even, it's just like, oh, like we're listening to music and we're dancing and we're hanging out.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that...
and then even when Pockets was talking about like, oh, talking about how whatever she is, and I thought he was just being his regular simpy self, like just she's a
Simpy
woman and
self,
she's in
yes.
front of me, and of course I'm gonna think I'm in love with her. But they're like, no, this is real. They're a thing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess simpy is a decent way to put it. The way that he is desperately
Yeah.
vying for the attention of various women by trying to do things that women typically have been known to like, i.e. chivalry. Oh my gosh, it's so great, he's carrying my stuff. Oh,
Well, yeah,
yay.
but it's like it's the
he's so
intent
nice,
behind
he
it.
waits for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where he's just like,
The desperation in
he's
particular
so, yeah, that's what
is kind
it
of
is.
streaming off of him,
Yeah.
which...
Because the other guys, they do chivalrous things and they do gentlemanly things, but it's just because for the sake of being a good guy, and he's just doing it for the sake of, please, please, please.
It is interesting to see the difference between the guys who are actually acting like men and competing for her.
Yeah.
Right? Who, Uncle Race Car Driver, I don't think it's appropriate. Frenchie, I think it's entirely appropriate.
Yeah, this is
personally.
where I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like when he showed up, I was like, okay, cool. Like new guy.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, never mind. I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd imagine that's exactly what I thought was going through your head watching it. It was like, oh, okay, so, a young, attractive guy shows up, and obviously he's going to be the one to be with Brandy, because John Wynn has repeatedly said, Brandy's like a daughter to me. Nobody crosses that line, lucky for us,
Yeah.
in this movie. But, when you're thinking, oh, okay, so legitimate romance. Like, in the movie, you're supposed to be thinking that she's early 20s, right? And Frenchie is probably around 30. So you're like, oh, okay, I guess she's able to make her own decisions at this point. And if he's deciding to pursue her, you're
Yeah.
like,
And we know for a fact he did not change any of her diapers as a kid.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't know that
is an
about any of
important
the other
fact.
ones. Yeah.
And that does bring up a decent, whatchamacallit, like a decent point, because this line, right, is somebody, yes, it's something that everybody's going to draw in a different place.
Yeah.
Okay. Biblically speaking, I don't think that there is any precedent set in
Yeah.
this other than obviously, most of the time it's left to your local law. Because there are times in the Bible where they're in countries where it's expected that if your brother dies that you marry his wife to
Yeah.
take care of her. And, stuff like that, I think it's strange to me because of who I am, where I grew up and whatever, right? But it could be perfectly normal to them. In this case, we can only tackle this from our own perspective, and neither of us like this, where personally I draw the line at, if they're both adults
Right.
and they make their own decisions and there is no possibility of the accusation of grooming,
Right.
then I can live with it. I don't like it, especially when it's like, oh yeah, this 18-year-old girl and this like 80-year-old guy. I'm sitting there going like, that's just weird.
Yeah.
That's just strange. But, if, like, I think we discussed this before, if there was somebody who was 30 and somebody who was 40, 10-year age gap, it's pretty big, but, I could get used to it,
Yeah.
and I could even
he's
be
not
fine
he's
with
not
it.
a creep. Like the older
Yeah.
person's not a creep.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if they meet at those ages, there's a distinct difference between that and I was 20 when you were 10,
Yeah.
right? And like I watched you grow up and I had, beers with your dad
Yeah.
and we were friends for a long time and then he died and I decided, you know what? I might as well just get with his daughter. Like,
Yeah. Like, oh, she's a woman now.
so for me, I think that's where I draw the line, where if adults meet as adults, they can make their own choices, and
Yeah.
eventually there's enough of an age gap where it'll be weird anyways, but I think that I could probably swing it up to 10 years and be like, okay, I mean, it's justifiable enough that you're not, like, if somebody is mature for their age or immature for their age, then it might balance out.
Yeah.
Right, but anything past 10 years, I think I'm just personally sitting there going, why?
Yeah.
Why though? But how about you?
Yeah. Me, I think because I'm in the early stages of my life where I don't put up with age gaps, but like I have friends that are my age, they date people that are like in their 40s, and I'm like, you're dating someone older than my dad? That's crazy. And we're this,
Yeah.
so, but they're go off, I guess. I don't know, but like that compares to like the other couple where it's like, okay, he's old and she's young, but like they meet like as adults, so
Yeah.
I guess.
You
I don't
guys.
like it, but it's fine.
You're so convincing right now.
But I think
Kind of hate it.
what irritates me about it isn't so much their age gap with John Wayne and the photographer. It's more so I don't like them as individual characters. So it's like their little love story is only gonna be. I'm just, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then she's like, we don't. Like, I think we know her more than we know Brandy because I don't know much about Brandy as a character, and we could just assume that she's like.
Well, we knew that she grew up on safari.
Yeah, but like saying
Right.
like I'm like the photographer, I don't see her as someone that is like very mature or like emotionally intelligent. She kind of is like bratty to me. And I don't so I'm like, okay, with Brandy, like, okay, maybe like she's mature, maybe she's like not not ditzy or whatever, but like I don't know cuz we don't really see that many scenes like of her being her. So I don't know, but the other chick, she's a hot mess. And then he's just Mr.
Yeah.
Nonchalant. So I'm like, why is this happening?
That's a way to put it. I don't know. Honestly, I really don't. Because there's so much going on there that it kind of feels like I believe the actress is Ms. Martinelli, but photographer lady, that I don't get it,
Yeah.
right? Like in the meta, I can understand an up and coming actress going like, oh my gosh, I get to be the love interest for John Wayne.
Right.
That would be iconic.
Yeah. And then
Right.
John Wayne, of course, like
Even if
give
he's
me a
old
hot
enough to be your
love
father,
interest.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, this is a job. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually have to be with him,
Right.
Like yeah, I get to work with John Wayne. That's great. Right? Which that's a whole other conversation, actors and actresses and why their love lives are just garbage because they have to do intimate things with people that they're not actually involved with,
Yeah.
right? Which tears stuff apart
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't even imagine that,
Yeah.
being like, oh yeah, go make out with some other guy, just make sure you bring the bacon home.
Right.
It's fine.
And
It's
I'll
like-
go do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't get it really at all either because he's a very well established guy, and I could see that being
I could see her appeal, like
kid.
his appeal. I could see her being into him.
really.
Yeah, because he's like right away, like he's kind of more assertive and he kind of like puts her in her place. I don't want to say it like that, but that's what he does. So she like kind of already has that respect for him, and I could see that. I can't see like the other way around because everything she does annoys him. So maybe he likes being stressed. I don't know.
Okay, so sure.
With the
I guess.
elephants too,
I
and he's
was
like,
I
no
could,
baby elephants, and then now
I
there's
could
three.
see why he's into her, but I could not see why she was into him.
Oh, that's
'cause
so
I'm-
funny.
Yeah, I was like, I'm coming at it from the other perspective where I'm like, okay, so obviously just age and attractiveness wise, you're not going to do much better than a hot 25-year-old when you're 60,
Yeah.
right? Like, so as long as she doesn't annoy the ever-living crap out of you, you can put up with a lot just because of that, and that's 9 out of 10 guys are going to be all like, oh, okay, like there's the hot crazy line where you're
Yeah,
just like,
I was gonna bring
I
that
can
up.
put up with this much because you're this hot,
Yeah.
right? And
She's right in that sweet spot.
yes, but throughout the movie she does a lot, right? Where she's like, okay, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, and now because of that, I'm willing to ask for help. I will slowly become one of the guys and become the mother of elephants, effectively. Where
Yeah, I think she does have the most growth out of everyone.
yes,
Yeah.
John Wayne is John Wayne is John Wayne is John Wayne,
Right.
and he is good at what he does
That's because we're told.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you see him being
Oh, yeah,
good
we
at
do
what
see
he
it.
does, where
You
he
saw
leads
it,
from
I
the
was
front.
zoned out. Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
I was like, he leads
mm.
from the front. He captures things. He obviously knows what he's doing and is good at it.
Yeah.
Like, you see him literally being competent. You buy it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a personality at all.
No.
Which is why I'm sitting there going like, okay, knowing what I know about women, I don't get this at all, because there could be the initial like, oh, he's well set up. Mm-hmm. He's assertive. The other men look to him as a leader.
Yeah.
And I could see her being attracted to that side of things, but then I look at literally every other guy in the cast and I'm like, oh, these are all guys who are effectively the same. Like, they're all men. Like, they're all actual men. And there are quite a few, basically all of them, who are much closer to her in age, who will be him in that 20, 30, 40 years. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and again, generally speaking, with my experience with women, they are going to look at something like that as a more attractive prospect than somebody who is set up now, because, I mean, it's like some women definitely make the choice of, oh, I'm going to marry the guy that's almost dead so that I'll be set for life.
Some,
right.
Yeah, I
But
guess some do.
that's not the prevailing mentality.
No.
Right?
And I don't think that's her character doesn't give that either.
Well, I understand that, but given the age gap between them being 35 years canonically,
Yeah.
I believe, right? Like, you definitely have to wonder why she didn't look at Uncle Race Car Driver and go, oh, this is obviously his number two who's being trained to take command
Yeah.
after Sean is no longer able to do this. He'll be that guy inside of 5 years.
Yeah.
He'll be the one who's in charge, who's leading the hunt, who's doing all of this stuff. So why would you not just like, oh, I can bypass going for somebody that's 20 years older who's that guy now for the guy that's 20 years younger who will be that guy who's in charge, who's at his peak in 5 years.
Yeah. Well, because he's not the one that's challenging her. He's not the one that's pushing her to.
Okay. I mean,
blah,
like,
blah, blah.
you get it, but
Yeah.
by the same token, I understand what he sees in her, because even at such a young age, she's a go-getter and she's taking care of 3 baby elephants, despite the fact that he's sitting there thinking in terms of like, how are we going to make this work? Now we need like 80 goats to feed the stupid elephants and, you know, different things like that. He's thinking logistically, but she's having a heart and making it work. And he is actually not having to worry about it, because that's what he...
Wow, are they a good couple? That's crazy. Wait.
I mean, I
works.
don't really like the age gap, but
No.
that being said, with us explaining what they see in each other
it's like,
to
wait a
each
second.
other, I'm like,
Wait.
hold up,
They kind of.
do they actually work? The writers were onto something. But yeah, it's like she has her own thing going on, and eventually he can look at it and think that it's such a harebrained mess and, you know, all this stuff, it's going to come apart at the seams. But as long as he doesn't have to worry about it, because he goes, whatever, it's your problem.
Right.
And she goes, okay, it's my problem. We have elephants now. And yes, like a woman that will do that, that will, you know, you go like, why are you bringing all of this crap into my house? And she's like, oh, don't worry, I have a plan. And you go, yeah, you'd better. And then, you know, you come back in a week and you have all this really awesome furniture and you go, how much did this cost? And she goes, oh, you know that junk? I use that to make this. You know, I mean, it's effectively the same thing, right?
Right.
Where you're thinking, this is going to be a pain. I'm going to hate this. I'm going to have to clean up your mess, because that's what you've gotten out of life.
Right.
Where, by and large, men used by women to help clean things up, move things around when things fall apart, right? Like, my car doesn't work anymore. Fix it. You know, I need a new dresser. Can you build it for me and then, you know, move it? Like, you know, this is what men are conditioned by their mothers to expect from women.
Right.
like, they will need certain things from you to do this. So you view it as a pain. You're like, okay, whatever. Sure. And then a woman who can actually take care of everything on her own and come to you with like, oh, this is a strict game that I'm presenting to you right now. You're like, well, you're actually adding to my life. That's huge. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind giving of myself to you now that you've given of yourself to me.
Yeah. See, and
Like-
note that for all those guys that are online saying like, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? You know, those guys. Those
Yeah, because it's
men.
swinging back. I mean, because, yeah, for a very long time, the dating thing was women saying, if you're not 6 feet with a six-pack and earning six figures, then you're not for me. And I'm like, okay, I guess. So I'm just screwed by genetics, thanks. But, you know, people can be snobby in either direction, I
Yeah.
suppose. But,
I think nowadays they definitely are.
yes. Oh,
Mostly.
yes, decidedly so. But
Yeah.
as Christians with level heads on our shoulders, right? Hopefully we have an opinion that people can get behind and say like, wow, there's two, I guess, a youngish guy and a young woman who actually have their heads screwed on straight. That's good. Yeah. Be all like, yes, I will bring 110% to the table and expect the same from her.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, moving on, now that we've beat that horse to death. Oh,
else?
where even were we? Huh?
What else happens?
I guess we can go over the mother of elephants stuff, where,
Oh yeah, I didn't understand any of that.
okay, what is there to not understand
The
about
little like the locals and then the thing and then the all that. I didn't.
it? The locals.
The locals and
And
then
the
they had her
thing?
dancing and I guess to show appreciation for
So
her
that's-
taking care of the elephants. I don't.
That's a cultural thing,
Yeah,
obviously,
I
right?
yeah.
So we're never going to be able to wrap our heads entirely around it, but it did amuse me so much.
To see her in blackface.
Well, yeah, effectively, where I was like, oh my gosh. So in this movie, they have an African tribe basically adopt this woman, paint her skin to be the same color as theirs.
Yeah, and she makes sure to let it's she's like, oh no, they did this to me. They painted my skin.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was thought of as offensive, I guess, in
Yeah.
1962, so that's not why
It's
she's
definitely
saying
it's not
but
played that way. It's definitely played as like a
a funny,
like if funny in that it's embarrassing for her afterwards, but it's like no, this is like they're embracing her and it was like showed as like a cute thing, like a good thing.
yeah.
So that was
Which
interesting.
I'd say is pretty solid, because everybody has their weird rituals, right? Where if you've never played football, you probably think that it's a really jerk move for players to take the thing of Pedialyte and dump it on their coach,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, as a coach, you know, having your players give you that sign of approval or whatever, it's a big deal,
Right.
right? So this is one of those things where she says, no, we're not going to kill the baby elephant, because all of the men are thinking like men, where they're going, okay, the mother elephant is dead. The baby is just going to be hunted and eaten by predators on safari, right? So let's put it down. Because I don't want to have to think about a child that I can't take care of going out and getting torn to pieces. So they're all thinking like men, and to the writer's credit, so is Brandy.
Right.
Because she's been raised by essentially a pack of wolves, right? These are very rough-riding, dangerous guys that are competent, and she has taken on their traits. Enter photographer lady who says, no, why would we kill it? Like, we can figure this out. You know, I have maternal instincts. I'll take care of a baby elephant. And everybody's asking her, like, how the heck are you going to manage that? Like, baby elephants are big, which is why they're taken care of by bigger elephants,
Yeah.
right? Like, you've got effectively this thing that's the size of a short bus that is producing milk to sustain this thing that's the size of a smart car. Okay? How are you going to do that? And she's like, I don't know, I'll find a way. And they do the math, and it ends up being like 25 goats to produce enough milk to sustain one baby elephant. And I was like, oh, dude. Like, I think that I might still just, maybe try to find a home for it or whatever, but probably just, if it were me, probably just put it down. Because 25 goats for one baby elephant, and if you milk goats that often, like anyone who knows anything about goats, you're going to be all like, they'll go dry, right? They'll, get old, right? So you're probably, throughout the course of that elephant's childhood, I'm not sure how fast they mature, but you're probably going to end up going through like 100 goats per elephant, which is absolutely insane to me. But she does it, and she makes it work and whatever. And they're just kind of like, okay, but it ends up being a project that she tackles and actually succeeds at, which is nice to see. And it's also I think that the writers were trying to make a commentary on, like, what would it be, the law of the jungle, right? And what happens when you civilize said jungle. When you take a woman with actual maternal instincts and not this group of hunters who are like, yeah, no, we capture, we kill, men eat, yes, or fire,
Right.
good,
Right.
right? And she's like, no, we can make this work. We can turn the world upside down to make sure that this baby elephant doesn't have to die. And she brings a little bit of humanity to the wilderness and all of that. And it's very, very interesting. Again, a deeper movie than I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
So that progresses, and all of the orphan baby elephants in Africa, apparently there are only 3, turn up every now and again. It's kind of a running gag. But yes, so the tribe sees her do this and say, like, no, we're not going to kill the baby elephants. We're going to take care of them. And they have their appreciation ceremony, which is, I'd assume that it would be the equivalent of us like having a dinner and an award ceremony or something for, like here at church. We have
Right.
volunteers and various things that we like to show appreciation for. So they, as a tribe, write a song, come over, paint her skin to be the same color as theirs, dress her in their clothes, give her a bunch of jewelry that they think is very awesome to adorn her. And she doesn't really get it, but effectively they're like, you're one of us now, right? You have become one of the tribe.
Right.
And modern sensibilities would tell us that that is cultural appropriation,
Yeah.
and she's a white devil, and all of these things, when in the moment I was just laughing because she doesn't realize how big of a deal that is, that, they adopted her into the tribe. And she's just thinking, how am I going to get this off my skin? What is this garbage that they're making me wear? Why do I have to dance like a freaking ostrich pecking its seed? And yeah. But she does it. She goes through it. And yes, I found it to be, for starters, a good joke. And then to also have layers of deeper meaning. And, like, screw cultural appropriation. They got a bunch of actual African tribespeople to play African tribespeople, and they were fine adopting this mother of elephants into the tribe in the movie.
Yeah.
So, what exactly is there for anybody to be mad about in this? Somebody will find something,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But
Yeah, it was definitely.
what was your take?
No, yeah, I definitely had the same feelings. I was like, oh, I was surprised, but then I was like, wow, it's like felt like it was like not like, haha, her skin's brown. It was like, no, like, haha, okay, she's embarrassed and she doesn't know what's happening, but like it's still like sweet as like a sweet moment, like, oh, like she did a good thing, and then they're recognizing that. It was cute. It was a sweet moment.
Yeah. Pretty solid. So things progress. She's mother of elephants. They capture a lot of capuchin spider monkey type little monkeys. There is a bit of a gag there where Pockets blows up his little mad scientist shed, I guess.
Yeah.
Which that is the thing in this movie that actually rubbed me the wrong way. Where I was like, bro, you can't just be messing with pyrotechnics in the middle of Africa. Like, there's no mountains, dude. Like, if a fire starts,
Right.
everything is screwed for miles. Like, there is no fire department out here. You said that you were 5 hours away from the nearest hospital. Like,
Right. Like, it's done.
dude, like, it's over if you lose control of one of your stupid little rockets or whatever. And, you know, in the movie, there's an accident. One of the rockets goes through the thatched roof. It lights it on fire. And everybody's just kind of like, oh no, we need to fight the fire. And I'm going, yeah. But then they listen to Pockets when he says, no, you've said you wouldn't mess with me in my lab.
Yeah, he's so annoying. I can't
Yeah.
stand him.
Yeah, that was the thing that actually just like peeved me, where I'm going, okay, there are certain things, right? Like, I don't like the age gap, but we kind of explained, like, they're actually kind of good for each other, which is, what do you know?
Not
That's a
Pockets.
thing. Yeah,
Not Pockets.
not Pockets and Brandy.
No.
But
Leave her alone.
But yeah, this actually, where I was like, you shouldn't really be joking around with things like that, dude, because anyone who knows anything about like chemistry safety and whatnot, which again, I'm minored in chemistry, so seeing that, I was like, dude, you're messing with rockets in a flammable building, like not even fire retardant, like it's literally made out of hay. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to be
And
like
you don't have-
an expert
yeah.
to be like,
I was like, you don't have any kind of fire suppression, and then not only that, but you're going to play it for jokes that he would like to let the fire burn out instead of trying to control it when you're on the plains in Africa. Like, you are intentionally in the middle of nowhere. If you start a fire here, like, it's done. Like, you just destroyed an entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, there is actually a good joke tied to that later. When they capture the monkeys, he builds his rocket and he points it away from the tree, and everybody's like, why is it pointed away from the tree? But me being me, I'm like, did none of you know anything about, like, ballistic trajectories and, you know, anything like that, and, like, how things are affected by... okay. Yeah, and I'm just like, whatever, no, I guess they wouldn't know anything about that. Okay, it's fine.
No.
It's great. But I looked at it and I was like, oh, so Puckett actually does know what he's doing. That's nice. But everybody thinks that it's bad, and Pockets even starts doubting himself to the point where when he lights the rocket, he runs away and he hides, and he doesn't even watch it. He thinks it's going to fail. And it does exactly what he wants it to do, where it picks the net up, takes it over the tree, traps all the monkeys in there, and then they get to going and, you know, stick them all in their little boxes. But, yes, so I appreciated that, and then the after effects actually had me laughing a little bit, where everybody's like, okay, Pockets won the day for us, I guess, that's fine. And Pockets is like, tell me again about the rocket, because I didn't get to see the rocket. The rocket was awesome, right? And everybody's like, okay, Pockets,
Yeah.
I'll tell you about the rocket. white smoke streamed against blue sky. And they just like, you can tell that they've said this like 50 times and they're just, perfecting it. It made me chuckle. It did.
Yeah.
As annoying as it is to see Pockets being like that,
Yeah.
I guess.
The way he is.
Basically, because it didn't bug me until you said, yeah, being his normal simpy self. And I was like, wait, he actually is a simp, isn't he? Dang it, I hate him now.
No, he's the worst. But yeah, I guess I got some chuckles out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So I guess for the rest of the movie, life goes on until... I guess actually there is something completely out of order at this point that I did want to bring up that I was like, that's clever and that would totally work on 9 out of 10 guys. If a girl just walks up and goes, so, how do you like to kiss?
Oh.
And you're like, what do you mean, how do I like to kiss? And she's like, oh, okay, well, I guess, do you like to kiss like this? Or like this?
Real smooth.
Full tongue action. And you're just like, okay, I guess, like as the guy, if you are even a little bit into a girl that does that, you're just like, oh, okay, this is actually nice not having to make the first move. And
this is what Pockets dreams about.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. He dreams about, finding a woman being besieged by a cheetah in the bath and saving her, and then her going, oh my gosh, Pockets, would you prefer I kiss you like this or like that? Just, but that was something that while I was like, this is essentially completely unrealistic, because
Oh yeah.
I've never known a woman who was actually willing to put herself on the line like that.
Neither do I.
Okay. But it amused me to the point where I was like, it's completely unrealistic and yet kind of awesome. It's just like, I know what I want and I'm going for it. And I guess it worked out for him. Yeah, the old guy.
Yeah. And of course he's no reaction, just like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah, we can call that no reaction, I guess. I mean, essentially he's like, standing perfectly still.
Yeah.
And she's kissing him, and there's no reaction for that part. But as soon as he's like, oh, this is an actual thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because he gives her the out, which a gentleman would do, period. If it's like, if you're drunk, if you're whatever, like, just take this opportunity to leave. Right? Where he goes, okay, if you keep kissing me, I'm going to lose, like, what little self-control is holding me back right now. And she goes, oh, well, that would be just terrible. And she kisses him again, at which point he actually gets into it and grabs her.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, that's definitely not what I would call no reaction.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Like, he's just like, of course this is happening. Like, he's not like super, like that the whole thing, like she's all shocked. Super, like,
Gotcha.
She's all giddy and getting all upset about it and all, and he's just like, okay, like, yeah.
Reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's like, when like she's thinks she's gonna leave and she's like alone in the room, she's all upset because she's like, oh, I'm gonna leave, and he doesn't care, and he's just like, girl, why are you tripping? Like,
basically, me. Like, yeah, that was, I don't even know. Because it's not like I've been in that exact situation, but there are facsimiles, right, where all of the sudden, and you have no idea why, right, your girlfriend, which I guess is what they would be at that point, gets super emotional and is just mad at you.
Yeah.
And, 9 out of 10 guys have been in that situation where you're just like,
what?
Okay, what can I do? How can I help? What's going on?
Yeah.
And they're just like, go away, I hate you, stop it, no,
Yeah.
no. And you're just sitting there like,
okay, where'd this come from?
I'll be outside. Call me if you need
That
me.
was him. He's like, fine. She's like, leave. And he's like, fine. I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
But
going to say
yeah.
I've never been her, but it was funny seeing it. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh, ugh. That's what that looks like.
Yeah. But yeah, so the short version there is that they insert drama because he is such a reserved guy. And there again, not that exact situation, but I've heard that where it's like, you just seem emotionally unavailable, and women just like read through their psychology textbook because they're in college. And they're, for that semester, all of a sudden it's just like, you seem like you're emotionally unavailable and you have some mother issues. And, they're just like going down the list of things that they've decided are wrong with you. But you're like, no, I just have self-control. Okay? If I didn't love you, I wouldn't say that I loved you. If I didn't want to be with you, then I wouldn't be with you. Right? You're sitting there going like, okay, all of these things that are fine in my guy brain are just broken in hers because, I have self-control. Which,
Okay.
I'm like, I feel for you, Mr. John Wayne. I get it. Been there, where you're just like,
How did we get here?
how did we get here? And then, okay, in my experience, exclusively, this has led to me trying to fix the situation and the girl acting like there's absolutely nothing that can possibly fix this situation. And then she, effectively breaks up with me. And I think that it's, a major overreaction, whatever. And then I realize, oh, right, like, I'm me. So that checks out. In this situation, there is way more drama than that, which I don't get it. I really don't. Like, what has to be going through your head for you to not just say, like, goodbye, effectively? Because she literally just runs away and leaves a note for Pockets, of all people, instead of simply having that conversation, right? Or diving into it with somebody, even if it's not the guy, right? Like, at least every girl that's done that to me has had the courtesy to say, like, no, we're done. Okay? Which, I can't imagine just, like, waking up in the morning and going, okay, last night wasn't great, but I'll make breakfast for her. We'll patch things up. It's going to be great. Showing up to her room and going like, wait, where'd she go? Like, I thought we were really onto something here. And she just doesn't even say anything to me. And then you ask everybody else and they're like, oh yeah, she left. Why? I don't know. It's like, she didn't tell anybody. What has to be going through your head for that to, do you get it at all?
I've done that. I've ghosted people. I've literally, like, not dumped them. I'm just like, okay.
Goodbye forever.
Yeah. But, like, yeah. Not the
Okay.
best, not the smartest thing, not the nicest thing. But wait, maybe I hate her because I am her. That's crazy.
Okay. So, when we film the next thing and I'm congratulating Yesenia on her engagement to a 60-year-old guy, we'll revisit that. But for now, do we have anything on the mentality that has to go into that? Or do you want to share? I guess obviously we can cut as much of this as you want.
No, I don't care. I think she was wanting him to want her to stay.
He did.
But, like, show in a big way. Because he's not, I don't know why she
Because he
expected
has self-control, he's
Yeah.
getting punished for it.
Yeah, like she's crazy about him and she's showing it and like embarrassing herself. So I think she wanted him to at least be a little bit like that towards her, but he's kind of like left it up to her.
Which, like, I would get that if it were something that he could do in an appropriate fashion, because I think the issue that he keeps running into is all of these small, intimate moments where, at times women say the little things matter the most, right? But in this case, something big, what does that even look like? Like,
Yeah,
does that look like him losing self-control again when they're alone in her bedroom and just like, grabbing her and starting to rip clothes off until she says no? Like, is that what she wants out of him? Or,
I don't.
because what else can he realistically do? Like, train all of the elephants to march in unison to give her a wedding ring or something? I mean,
I don't know. Just like, I don't. More than what he's given, I guess. But I don't know. They figured it out, I guess.
yeah, they do, because she gets her big display thing where he
Yeah.
gets to put all of his skills to use, tracking animals and capturing them, to tracking her down, stopping her from running away, leaving the country, right? Like, it, when you say it objectively, it sounds god awful, but realistically, again, in my experience, most women want this to happen, right? When they're walking away from somebody to do the whole dramatic, I need drama in my life for reasons, so I'm going to break up with you and walk away, which has never worked on me, right? Because I'm like, okay, if you want to break up and walk away, then I guess thanks for telling me.
No, I get that. Yeah. Like, why
But
chase after somebody that don't want you?
yeah, I guess in
I
my
understand
case,
the
yeah, it was
male
like
thought process.
in my
behind it,
case,
but-
if I thought that there was a shot, then I probably would have tried to salvage something. But yeah, no. When women cite the fact that they want to have their own children and that father would never be me as a reason for breaking up because I'm crippled, like, that's not going to go away.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, that leaves me in a headspace where I would never, or I've never been in a position to do something like this, because there's never been a woman that's like, I want to break up with you, but please chase me. Like,
Right.
no. It's always like, no, this is dead. This is never going to happen.
Yeah, and I think most people, like, logically, yeah, that's how breakups tend to work.
Yes. Yeah. But here, right, she disappears without a word, and him being him puts all of his skills to use. They use the baby elephants, oh, how cute, to track her down. And when they find her, this is the part that makes almost no sense to me, where she literally, like, runs through half the city. They wreck a couple of shops. Like, was this just an action quota, do you think? Or could you see in her head her still being committed to actually getting away from this?
Yeah, no, I was like, what's happening?
Okay, so it struck you as super odd too.
Yeah.
Because the thing that you would expect is her to have an emotional reaction, but for it to be pretty overwhelmingly positive when everybody shows up and they've got the baby elephants and everything, and they're like, no, you're so important to us that you don't get to just disappear, right? We're going to talk this out, and I'm actually really into you, and, all of these different things. Like, you'd imagine that that's why, given what happens, that's why she did what she did, was to try and get this big, dramatic, I'm actually going to say all of these things explicitly to you with some emotion in my voice because you don't like that I have self-control.
Well, that's all. Yeah, that's
Right.
all she wanted. That's all girls need. Little emotion, little gesture.
Yeah.
You don't have to
that
be
would be
grand.
That would be nice if that were true.
Well, okay, maybe more than a little, I guess.
Maybe more than a little, yeah. You need a healthy dose of drama and excitement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
You're
guess.
like,
No,
you're like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Little.
But yeah, it's it was cute. I think it was only done for movie purposes though, because yeah, she literally ends up in a chase for like 5 city blocks, it struck me as very ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then eventually you do get down to brass tacks where he's like, no, I want you to stay. And then you skip to what seems like it's, a day, maybe a week or whatever later. And all of a sudden, she's in his bed. They replayed the ending of the movies. They reenact the first scene where he walks in. She goes, hey, stranger, before you do anything, just know that you're not alone in here. And it's like super flirty this time. And I was like, oh, okay. That's cute. So they, are obviously making this official, so he'll probably reenact it all the way to the end, is what's going through my head. And Pocket shows up, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, they're going to reenact it all the way to the end. Then the baby elephants come in and break the bed, and they cut. And I was like, I didn't see that coming. It actually made me kind of laugh.
Yeah,
and
no.
the baby elephant walks in, puts two legs up on the bed breaks, and it's just like, freeze frame. I just went, what? Okay. Huh. Sure, I guess they're married now. That's, yeah. Okay. Thoughts?
It's cute.
It's cute.
It's cute. I like it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I found it amusing,
Yeah.
obviously. I guess cute would be accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby elephants.
I think I like it more after we talked about it and thinking about it and analyzing the characters. I like it more, and I think I will watch it again. I think I will.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to do the, what would that end up being? Instead of 2.5 hours, we could do like a 2-hour edit that doesn't have Brandy and Pockets together in it.
Oh, that's my dream.
That's your dream.
That's my dream.
All the girl needs is little things. It doesn't have to be much.
Does the photographer and Brandy talk at all?
Yes. Not much.
I'm not recalling. Like,
Not much.
okay, that would be it. That would be my change. Would be like, Pockets just keeps being Pockets, but like nobody validates him. And
I don't
They have,
know
like,
about
a
that.
little
Like,
friendship.
nobody should be validating his interest in Brandy, but, giving...
oh, props to his rocket
Giving-
net. Yeah, cool, but I mean
Oh.
like the chicks. Like
Yeah.
he gets no chicks.
No.
Keep him.
That's not even what I was referring
babeless.
to. I was just like, how would I fix Pockets as a character? And I think that, having him, like, showing us the bar that they go to, because they obviously go to a bar, right? Because they
Yeah.
come back drunk. So, showing us the bar that they go to, and showing them being an age-appropriate local woman there that, maybe like his eyes pop out of his head and he has some dramatic moment or whatever, right? And then you can have that scene that they have where the photographer tells him to go after Brandy, only with this new nameless woman who, I could go after that, right? Like I could see that happening and being good, because Pockets is kind of charming when you don't think of him as a super simp. And I think that if he
'cause-
actually had a woman tell him, like, hey, it's great to not be amazingly nice all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
be an actual man, look at these other guys, right? When he's all down in the dumps and he's like, what am I doing wrong? She could actually tell him, be honest, instead of saying, oh, you're amazing just like you are. Be honest and say, girls are only going to like it if you can take charge, right? Most women not looking for a lapdog, right? If you're just going to sit there and go like, ah, yes, mommy, pet me. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's the only thing that I would change about the movie. But
Yeah,
other
because
than that,
it's well acted and it's well written and it was like super cool and interesting.
yeah,
I liked it.
okay. Interesting. So, I guess now we get into all of our post-talk. So, what's the first thing that we always do for post-talk? Because we do the...
Do we think any of these characters are Christians?
I see the values there, if we're being completely honest. Like, they don't express it at all, right?
Yeah.
But the way that most of them act would lead me to believe that they've got a foundation that they were at least raised to be Christian.
Yeah, they do. They all seem to have the men have like strong morals. Whereas,
Yes.
like, yeah, you
Yeah.
see that in like how hardworking they are, and with the animals, and like even the debate about the elephant. It was like out of like, oh, you don't want to have the baby suffer, and
Yeah.
and how they treat the ladies in the house, for the most part.
Yeah. So, again, gun to my head speculation, I'd say probably. I could definitely see it. Obviously, the only reason we're doing this is because they're fictional characters. Like, it's actually dangerous to be all like, do you think this person is a Christian or not? You should just always assume no. But here, I think, yeah. Like, I could see it.
Yeah.
Pureflix or Netflix is a bit of a very complicated question.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong, like in the content of it.
yeah,
For
I'm
it,
I'm
but I
pretty
wouldn't-
solidly in PG.
Yeah.
But I mean,
There's
we've given our reasons for why it wouldn't be appropriate as well, right?
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything particularly like uplifting, like with biblical morals in it enough
Okay.
to put it on Pureflix.
Yeah.
But it's they're good people. The characters are good people, and it's a good story. So
That being said, you don't feel like it would be out of place, but you don't necessarily think that it lends itself naturally.
yeah.
Okay, so we're both pretty much on the fence, where it's like, yeah, if Pureflix added it, I wouldn't
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't-
wouldn't be
I wouldn't-
surprised.
yeah.
But looking at the movie itself is, yeah. You said it just about as well as anyone could. There isn't anything super uplifting about it, or
Yeah.
fundamentally Christian. So, interesting stuff. What am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
I know. I need to print out that list, a checklist of the things we gotta get to.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, I guess that'll be it for Hatari,
Yeah.
1962.
Oh.
Thanks, Bart. Oh,
You want to give it a rating?
rating.
Do you want to rate it?
Ladies first.
Um,
She's like,
I didn't even log it on my letterbox. I want to say, because 3 is good, right? 3 out of 5 is good for me. I'll give it a 3.5 because I think it's a little bit better than good for me
okay.
compared to other things that I've seen.
Interesting. I would give it the same, but because I'm not a heathen, I rate things out of 10.
Okay.
So it's a 7. Very solid. I had a lot of praise. I think it does more right than it does wrong. And
Yeah.
the wrong things, by and large, I think are just pet peeves
Yeah,
of mine. Like, I would love to be able to say that I'm objectively right about the whole, if you're the age of her father and you watched her grow up, that's creepy thing.
Yeah, you're like friends with her dad.
Yeah.
You're not
but
even like, that's how you know.
I
she
still think
exists.
that that's subjective. Because obviously there are going to be people that just doesn't bother, right? But
That's crazy. Yeah. Yes.
either
That
way,
happens.
yes.
It
Yeah.
happens.
I would give it 7 out of 10, personally. If you'd give it a 3.5 out of 5, those are the same thing. That's
Yes.
quick math. So, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir. All right. So, exit stage left.